program to host the postseason game here at McDowell Center tomorrow night?
Well, it means a lot. It's been a really long time, so 18 years since we've hosted a post game, so really excited. And I think Tucson's really excited, so I'm hoping that people come out and support us, and I'm hoping we can host a lot more games here.
Well, has the program been given an indication? I mean, I know you're focused on the first game, of course, but have you been given an indication that you could host several more games?
Yeah, I think it depends on, I don't know exactly how it breaks down the work, but I've been given the indication that if you have more fans, and I don't know if it's a revenue generated thing, and it's a regional in the beginning, but I know there's bids that are out, and then you can host more. But I don't know specific details, but I think that if they're making money here and there's a lot of people, I think we would have a really good chance to host possibly the whole thing.
What's your players' thoughts and reactions about being able to still play this season?
I'm really excited. I think, yesterday was just kind of different because I think the brackets were leaked and then we were at practice. It was just interesting because I kind of wanted us to see what the whole process is like, so that was kind of out the door, but things happen. And it just took a long time, so it was kind of like, wait and hurry up and wait. But I think they're really excited just to continue. I don't think that our team understands that we weren't actually on the very bubble at the end, but understands that we were just a couple games away. And I don't think, because we're young, I don't think that really makes sense yet. But to still play, and I remember this time last year we weren't playing, to still play and have a chance to be successful in the WNIT against really good teams, I think we're just excited.
What are your thoughts about playing someone who's already played this season? Does it help? Does it matter?
Well, I didn't really think that would happen, so I was a little bit surprised. I was surprised that that's how it panned out, but it doesn't really matter because it's been so long. I mean, November 9th was a long time ago. They're very different. We're very different. But I think the exciting thing is we know they're a good team, but we're familiar with them, so I think that's a plus. And we won against them at home, and we're playing at home. I think those are just big factors that can help us be successful.
Coach, what are the long-term and short-term benefits of being in the WNIT?
Long-term benefits, I think, versus the NCAA for us as a young team is the chance to play more games. So I think instead of 1 or 2 games and being a low seed, I think for us, having a chance to possibly play 6 games or 3, 4, 5, I think it just gives us more experience in postseason play. So I think long-term it's going to be more beneficial. And I think also for just having a taste of success and being successful, hopefully, then next year you're more hungry, and the next step is the NCAA tournament.
You guys had a RPI about 80.
Yeah, and that's what hurt us this year.
But when you look at how you guys fared toward the end and how some of the teams that got in, did it kind of gnaw you a little bit that you guys didn't get in there?
And me, it did. I was really happy, but inside I was like, wow, if they only understood that, that LMU loss at home hurt, and I felt the Washington State loss at Washington State hurt, and then just to get one of those close games. But I think that as players, they don't even realize that. But I knew the RPI in the end would hurt us. I didn't think we were actually going to get in at that point. But I think we proved at the very end, even though we lost, we were competitive against really good teams. So I think for us, the ironic part is that we were playing good basketball and we were losing at the end. So the last 4 or 5 games against really good teams, we lost, but we were playing our best basketball. So I think just for where we're at, I think the WNIT was better for us than getting shipped off, going and facing a really, really good team and possibly losing in the first round. So I think that for us, where we're at, and just kind of being on the cusp of something special with a young team, I think the WNIT is a great thing. And I remember what it was for us, and when I was in college, it was like the pivotal point in Arizona women's basketball.
You look at Oregon, who 3 years ago they were in the WNIT, and now what they're doing. Do you kind of see that? Maybe look at your path, but hope for that.
No, I actually didn't think about that, but I just look at Oregon. I look at the process of rebuilding. Mm-hmm. So I talked to Kelly Graves, I talked to Corey Close, I talked to Scott Rueck a lot, like at meetings and about the process of how long it takes. I think Kelly went to tournament after a couple of years and has had success and did it really fast. But they've rebuilt at multiple times. So I look at just how long it takes and how long it took Scott and Corey. It doesn't take 2 or 3 years. It takes like 6. So I think I look at that and I'm optimistic because if we can do it and make a long run, I think it's really good. Because then the next thing is to just the tournament. So I look more at the big picture. So I think it suits us well, and I think we're going to be successful.
Coach, last week you said that you were spending the week working on individual drills and certain things you wanted to add. In a tournament like this where you're playing possibly every couple of days and you really don't have time to focus on the other team, what's your strategy going in?
So the first thing for us, because we don't have a lot of depth, is just short practices, like short and intense. So that's the focus right now. Because playing, we just found out last night, so 2 days to prep it's really fast turnaround. So I couldn't say to the coach, I need to scout everything done by tomorrow morning. It wasn't really realistic to be done right. So just concepts right now. So we know they do certain things well. So they're very different than the last teams we've played for the last the last month. We've guarded a lot of on balls. Teams in the Pac-12 that really spread you out and have great shooters. They're really different. They're smaller. They cut a lot back screen. So just different. So I think working on concepts that we can be successful with. But I think for us, it's like we're not really changing much of what we do, and I think that's what we've done a good job this year. We have an identity. We may have to adjust small things, but we're going to do what we do and then make people adjust what we do versus us adjusting every game. I just don't think we have the personnel or the IQ to do that with a young team. So we do what we do. We're going to do it well, and then we're going to work on certain things so we're prepared and not surprised. So, like we'll work today on back cuts and back screens and staggers, we're shooters, just different things like that because we're going to face that a lot. But it's more concepts, but we're not adjusting how we defend that. So we have a certain way we guard staggers. We do it. If they're a little better shooter, we're prepared for them to come off the stagger to shoot. But I just think we're sticking to our concepts and just kind of getting better. And that was my goal all week. So I had no idea who we were going to play. Actually, all the teams that we thought we could play, not one of us at our staff had Idaho State. We all thought just completely different. So we thought Hawaii, we thought just different teams. So not one thought Idaho State. I just didn't think you'd be matched up with the team you've already played. But I also don't know how that works, and that's way above my pay grade, so I don't have a clue.
When you were in the process of taking this job, did anybody tell you you better think twice about taking that job?
Yeah. I had a handful of people told me. And it's funny because some people I really, really respect told me that. They said a lot of people questioned whether it was a good job. A lot of people questioned can you win there? Can you recruit there? And I played here, so I think that's what some of the advantage was. And I wasn't as concerned with monetary things. I feel like that stuff comes. That's not my main concern. Just when I work and I'm proving myself. But I thought that some people thought it was very difficult to recruit and just thought because of the last decade how it's been, it was going to be hard to turn it around. Like no one thought we'd be getting McDonald's All-Americans at top classes my first couple of years. And I didn't know for sure. I knew I'd be able to later. I just didn't know that we'd be able to do it that early.
Does this then validate that decision? I know it's not a one seed in the NCAA tournament, but does this then validate that decision a little bit?
Yeah, for me, the most important things for me was, can I be happy here and can I be successful? So when I knew I met the administration and knew a lot of people that had been here for many years that were still here, they were here when I was players, that was important. And then I think the main thing was having the resources. I knew I could recruit. I knew I had the connections. I knew I was good on the West Coast, so I knew that I could get kids. But I had to know that the administration backs me. They put poor resources in the women's basketball. And I think that's what some people questioned initially. I'm talking about friends, like in the business that are really respected coaches. And I don't think every job is a good job, but this is my alma mater. So maybe it wasn't as good for someone else as it was for me because I've actually been here so I can sell it because I chose this place.
But does this season, though, how you're doing this year, or no, make you more glad that you did it?
No, I'm glad that I did, just seeing the direction we're going in. And I knew last year was going to be like this. But some of that was some decisions that I made personnel-wise and who to have on the team. So I knew that I didn't know my second year would be that hard, but I knew that we would get kids, and I just didn't know the time frame. This does validate it because I'm excited about the postseason, and I didn't know what that would look like. I knew we had lofty goals, and we were going to reach some goals, but I didn't know what it'd look like. But I think that this is a good job. I think that we have great support. Greg Byrne hired me, but Dave Hickey has been tremendously supportive and believes in what we're doing. And I think if you don't have that, after talking to people and seeing how it is around the country, if you don't have the support of your administration, you're not going to win. You're just not. So I think those were the most important things to me because I knew I could put in the work and do the other pieces.
Are you where you thought you'd be in year 3?
I didn't really know what to expect. I know in year 1, I had no idea. In year 1, if you had asked me, I would have thought it would take 5 years to be in this point. Year 1, it was very tough, and I think year 1, I questioned a lot, oh, was this the right situation? Just because it was just a lot of adversity that I had never faced, and I hadn't rebuilt programs before, so it was a first for everything. But I think this does validate, because the thing is, it was important for me when I first got here. I said, well, what are the things I can control? I couldn't control how we had been in school the last 10 years. I couldn't control how we recruited. I couldn't control those things, but what I could control was how we were going to be viewed by the community, what I was going to change immediately, and that was like off the court stuff. So once that happened, I think it was just easier. And then we got some good pieces, and I knew it'd be easier to get other pieces. So I'm happy I'm here. This is a good place, and I've heard that it was hard to recruit, and we haven't had that problem. So I think that we have the right personnel in place, and a lot of people want to come here right now. It's a good problem to have. Like, we're recruiting really well, and we have a good staff that's on the same page and working really hard, and no one's going to outwork us. So we're doing all those things, and it hasn't been that hard.
With that in mind, how important is it to get Ari and Kate in here, where other recruits now see the high-level players like that come here?
Really important, but I think that it's important for me to get add some great players around them. We have a young player in Bryce, who's a great shooter, an in-state kid. When I first got here, it was like, you're never recruiting in-state. That was one of the big things. And then, getting Kate as McDonald's All-American, it was the first. And I thought, like, okay, well, we're going to get more. Ari, no one thought Ari was going to be like she is. And she's just awesome. But she's also in a system where she can be very successful, and she's taken on her role extremely well. It's a first for Ari, because Ari's role at Washington was very different. But we've asked her to do a lot, and she's done amazing. She's just a fighter, and that's just her character. So now it's putting some more pieces around her. So we'll have another big class next year, but I don't want 5 and 6 every year. Like, I don't think I can, keep on every year starting kind of from 0. So after next year, then we're selective. So then we only need 2 or 3 pieces to add to that, and then develop Kate more, develop Samaje more, develop Bryce more, and continue to improve Sam and Ari. And just all the other players. So I think we're getting to the point where we're not just, like my first year, it's like you're just trying to find players, and you're not knowing who will come because you're selling a vision. So another thing for me that's been really important in recruiting is I really sold a vision at my first year. They had no clue, and it's just off what I'm selling because we haven't done it, and we didn't do it for a decade. So what I was happy about is last year was a really tough year. And I was proud of all the players that committed and signed, because they didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know we'd be going to the NIT. They didn't know they were told we'd finish 10th to 12th. So I think that they took a leap of faith, and they took a chance on us. Like, Kate took a chance on me, too. And so those are the kind of players I want. The players that want to come here, want to leave their legacy, are going to do something great, and those are special players to me. So now we're getting better, and then next year we add to that. We just continue to grow. So that's the process. And I think culture is everything. We have a good culture now. Like, I like coaching this team. And it's been fun. And they're working their butts off. They do everything I ask. Sometimes what's been hard this year is we're playing a really talented team that is better than us. If you look on paper, they should kill us. And they're doing everything I ask, and we're so close and we lose. It's like sometimes I say, what else could I ask? Yeah, we could have made a couple less mistakes, but I also have to give them credit, because when you're playing like 45 minutes, it's very hard mentally, just physiologically, to not make a mistake. So that'll change as we get more depth and more, just different personnel, that way, and more experience. And I think these games this year, I think you're going to see them pay off in a couple of years. You're going to see those close losses. We'll learn how to win. Because right now we didn't really know how to win against those top teams, because they've been there, done that. You saw the poise that Oregon State had. They weren't rattled. They've been there. Michaela Pivick just goes in. We get a little tighter just because we don't know what that looks like. So you'll see that with these games and with experience, we'll be better later in those situations.
Would it be legit to say that the Pac-12 is the best women's conference in the country?
Yeah. I think the Pac-12 is the best women's conference in the country. I know we were second in RPI. I know that the SEC And ACC had one more school in the tournament, but I think by far we are.
What are your thoughts about being the lone Pac-12 team in this WNIT tournament, carrying the flag for the conference?
Well, I was surprised first. I didn't really think too much about it, and then it was brought to my attention. I was like, oh yeah, we are, just because of situations and circumstances. I think it's exciting. I think as a Pac-12 is really supportive. I got a lot of texts yesterday, and they really want us to do well, and I think that's fun. I think that's a great situation to be in, and like all these things, and I don't look at it as pressure. I just look at it as we just have to go out and play our game. I think it's really big that we're hosting, because I didn't know if we're going to host or not. I never know what bids are. I don't really get into all that stuff, so I think it's important. I think that they're all supportive. I got a text from Lindsay yesterday, go win it all, it's like, so I think I think the Pac-12 does a really good job, but we support each other. We want the Pac-12 to stay great. We're not saying we're trying to get to the top. We believe we've arrived. We think we're at the top. So I think it's just now, I think the next step for our league is getting 7 teams in next year, being just a little bit more competitive. We're going to get better. I mean, Stanford is going to be a lot better, with the #1 class. So I think all those things are going to make our league even better, but we're a really good league. And if you look top to bottom, I mean, if you take Colorado's injuries away, they're a really good team. Utah's injury, they were number 14 at one point. So I think that hurt our league in the end. But we have some talented teams, and everybody gets better. And that's the unfortunate part, because we're getting better, but so is everybody else. So it's very difficult to move up.
How much would it mean to you to get at least 5,000 Thursday?
It would mean a lot, because I think if we get, our lower bowl's a little under 5,000, so they're $10 tickets. We need to sell it out. I think there's not a lot going on this weekend in Tucson. So I'm hoping that people come out and support us. And it means a lot, because if we can host the WNIT throughout, it's going to be very beneficial for us.
What do you remember about what life was like 8 years ago, spring 2011, last time Arizona was in the postseason?
It's been a while, so I don't remember much. I was at Washington, so it was very different. I think it was just, we were expecting to, we had one of the best players in the country and 2 All-Americans on the team, so just looked a little different. I think that the thing I'm proud about is almost been a decade since the postseason, and that's a long time. So I'm proud that we were able to do that. And I think that the city has been waiting kind of for this, so I really am proud of the fact that everybody's excited. I think that's really cool, and our players have worked hard to get to that point. So I think it's just a good thing for women's basketball here.
What was the sell to get you to join Husky State?
What was the sell? Well, that was I wasn't going to take another job. I was just retiring from Europe. I was doing TV in Washington, and I wasn't really going to go anywhere else, because I had lived out of a suitcase for 13 years as a pro player. So that's kind of the place I wanted to be. And because, I had a foundation and a lot of stuff, roots there. So when McGuff got the job, I knew that was a coach I'd want to learn from, to see if I want to start coaching and stay in the coaching. So for me, the beginning of it wasn't I have to do this. It was do I want to do this? Like, is it something I want to do? Because I'm just the type of person, if I don't love what I'm doing, and there's no dollar amount in the world that's going to make me do it, I'll do something else. I think I have potential to do other things. So I don't, I remember when I first got the job, I didn't even know I was getting paid. My question on the interview wasn't how much I'm getting, and someone was like, oh, you should ask that. I was like, that's a good point. Need to know that. But I had just retired, so I wasn't stressing for a job. I had, my broadcasting on the side. So I'm really glad I started there under Kevin McGuff, because I've learned a tremendous amount of valuable things from Kevin McGuff, who's now the head coach at Ohio State, and from Mike Neighbors, who's the head coach of Arkansas. And it's funny, because ironically, we could face both of them or one of them if we advance far enough.
What was it about McGuff that was so appealing?
McGuff was just a really good basketball mind, first of all, really good style play, but he was a really good communicator. So he was a really good communicator with players one-on-one, like as they're coming out of the game, and he would talk, and I learned a lot from him, and I didn't realize how much I learned from him until I became a head coach, and I'm using a lot of different things from different people. He just had a really good demeanor about himself. He probably got a little bit more intense than I do, but that was just personality. But I thought he really let people do their jobs. I thought he really supported his staff. I thought he wasn't a micromanager. He wanted you to just grow, and you could do any kind of projects you wanted if it was going to help us be successful. And so I really love, he's just a great person to work for, and he does a great job. So I wasn't surprised that after a few years he got his dream job at Ohio State.
What did you pick up from Joan along the way?
Joan, it's been so long, and back then I wasn't thinking of becoming a coach. It's funny, we laugh because when I was playing pro overseas, she asked me a couple times if I wanted to coach. I was like, heck no, like, no, thank you. At that time, I didn't want to coach because I was like 25 and I was playing in Europe. I was like, I'm making more money in Europe and I work like 3 hours a day. So I was like, no. And that was probably the best decision I made. Just a lot. Like, Joan is a very, very good motivator. So when you play for Joan, there's something about her that makes you want to run through a wall. If Joan would have said, Adia, go tackle Greg Hansen on the side and you can win this game, I would have tackled you. I wouldn't have been like, what do you mean? He's never going to write about us again. I would have just gone to do it. And I think that you just want to, you knew she cared. She gave me tough love. She punished me when she needed to, but it helped me grow. So I just would have ran through a wall for her. And so I learned, like, I wanted to be that for my players. I want them to know I care, and I do care. And I want to get on them when I need to. I also want to pat them on the back. I think there's value to that, and she did that for me. And she also, the reason why I didn't like her my first year is because she was hard on me. My first year, I was like, Mom, she picks on me all the time, but I understand that after. And so she just helped me mature. I came in here really immature. I was a year younger than everybody. So I came in here like an immature 17-year-old. I left as a leader. So it's that growth that I wanted to make sure I was like that to my players. I loved playing for her. She was and she was probably a little bit more intense than me too. But my experience with her is great. And she's a player's coach, so she lets you play. Like, she let me play, and I feel like I'm a player's coach. Like, I let Ari play. Now, do we all only rely on Ari? No. But I let her play. I'm the type, like, she's on a roll. I'm not going to take her out at the 6-minute mark. I hated that as a player. So I let her play. She's hot. It's like, give her the ball. Sam's hot. Feed her. So those are things I don't think if you didn't play, I don't think you have a feel for that sometimes.
And what lessons did you learn last year from having a tough season, from losing, from having Ari and TT and Dominique sit out for a year, that really helped you this year and helped you to this point?
Well, I think one of the ways it really helped was that they practiced. So I think what kept me optimistic was, okay, I have these three. Our practice team was better than our team last year, so that was hard. But then on the flip side, I said, okay, well, we're going to be better next year. I think for me, I didn't really care. Like, I didn't think it would be as hard as it was, honestly, because I didn't think we were going to be as bad as we were. So I thought we would, people were telling me, oh, you're going to be really bad, like our staff, like it's going to be hard. And I was like, it's not going to be that hard. Like, I just felt like I always think you could still win. And then in games, I was like, this is going to be hard. It was hard going into games knowing we have no chance or like a very little chance to win. So I think that was hard. I think it taught me just more about like patience and trust the process, and winning's hard because winning isn't easy. Like, it looks easy. Like, you look at Sean Miller and all his success, and it's like people don't understand how hard it is to win. And when you have a great team, it's probably even harder sometimes because then you have to get those great players to play together, and it takes a good coach to do that. So I don't think people understand that, and I don't think I understand until I became a head coach. You are a really good coach when you're in the stands. You are a great coach when you're 3 seats down. It is much different. And people can tell you that, but you don't understand it until you're in the situation. You don't at all. So, and then to sustain success, I think is even harder. Like what Tara has done, what Sean has done, it is very difficult, and it's rare. And so I think that I just don't think an average person would understand that, and I didn't understand it until I became a coach and a head coach. So I think that it takes time, it's a process, and once you get those players, you have to be able to use those players correctly. So, I mean, Ari, no one thought she'd be a top 3 in the country in scoring. I mean, I didn't even think that. I thought she'd be probably 16, 18 points a game. I didn't think she'd be, 10, 8 30-point games, and I didn't think she'd be that great, but she worked, she got stronger, she got better, and now it's our job that as a coach, and it's my job that next year she looks like a different player. In her senior year, she looks like a more complete player. I think that's a measure of program. So Yeah.
You guys won the WNIT in '96. I
Yeah.
remember from that. You were the MVP when Brenda was on that team, Andrea.
Yeah, Brenda used to give me the ball all the time. I think she led the country in assists that year. It was like 10 a game, like it was crazy. Yeah, it's been so long, so I don't remember exact. So I remember the travel being tough, and I remember that being the change, like the pivotal point in Arizona women's basketball. We were a young team. There were 7 freshmen, like from California. So I think it's very similar. It's similar to how we are now. So hopefully we can repeat that and win it all again. And then I think next year is the next step.
Any thoughts from Coach Miller when she got chosen yesterday?
Just he does a great job. Anything we need, any advice, anytime I need to talk, like he's been extremely supportive. We have a big win, he texts me. He's just really supportive, and he's great in every aspect.
I know that you guys believed all season that you could win and you could make it to postseason. All the players believed and they thought they could do this.
Mm-hmm.
But was there a point in the season after like a game when you're like, or a practice and you're like, it's gonna happen? Like you just knew it, you felt it.
Yeah, so early in the non-conference, losing to LMU, I wasn't sure how good we'd be, because I thought they were a pretty good team for sure, but I knew they weren't like a Pac-12 team, and we lost at home. So I thought that was kind of like, okay, what are we going to be like? Where are we going to be at? I think when we were able to beat ASU and Cal, I think those were the moments where I was like, okay, we can be pretty good because we can. But then my question was, can we sustain through the season? I mean, Ari's playing 40 minutes a game. Sam's playing 38. So I didn't know. Like you're an injury away from being in Utah situation. So I think that kind of concerned me. And just wearing the players down. And so I thought that I had to do a good job of then saying, okay, you can't have 2.5-hour practices because your players can't sustain. It's too hard. So I think just balancing that, but that was hard because you want to get better and throughout the year and this and that, and we just couldn't practice. And then I felt like some of our challenges were we didn't have a consistent practice squad, which hurt too, because usually you have a group of guys that come, and because of our block of time during the day in classes, I felt like that wasn't consistent, so that hurt us. So moving forward, I understand how important that is, because we came into the season, I thought I was going to have too many players to rotate. So my question at the beginning of the season was, how am I going to get these players reps in practice? And then fast forward a month, it was like, how are we going to practice? We don't have enough players. So I think that's what the nature of women's basketball is right now with the transfers. So I think that's going to be something you face. I think things, and the thing about the business is, I think in a couple of years someone will probably leave. I think that's just kind of the way it goes, because when you have 5 starters, you always have 5 to 8 people not happy. That's just kind of the way it is. But now you can leave whenever. Like this year, one of the things I dealt with was the day of a game, a player coming and telling me that she was leaving. And it really affected us. Was it the reason why we lost? No. But it was a distraction because I had to then go tell a team at shoot-around. And if I didn't, they were already going to know. So, you have to tell them right then. That's not the time I would have chose to tell, but they probably already knew. So, those are distractions, and I think that it hurts. So I think balancing that, understanding that numbers can change, not thinking, oh, how am I going to balance them, thinking okay, is everybody going to stay? So I think you just have to recruit a little differently now. But that stuff, it's a new thing, so I had to kind of learn that this year. I did not think that would happen. Okay.
Are you likely to add someone between now and October?
Yeah, I am. I'm hoping. My fingers are crossed. I'm patiently waiting. This is worse than waiting yesterday for the NIT. That couple hours. This has been like a month. Yeah, and this is a player that I'm saving a scholarship for. And if we get her, great. If we don't, it's hard, but we'll move on. But a really good, talented player. And that's the thing about some international players is when they're really good, they have chances to play pro. And so you're always kind of waiting because do they want to take a pro contract money or do they want to come and go to school? And if you're not into school, you probably don't want to come the school route. So, yeah, that would be the player that I would, possibly one player. And then, we're looking at a couple of transfers. I'm not huge into transfers unless I have a, prior relationship, but we are looking at a couple right now because we need to add some pieces. And now I'm looking at pieces that, not someone that's just good, but someone that can help us get to that next level and be a top 5 team in the Pac-12, which is a top 25 team. So we're looking to add some talent. And then after that, so after 2019, 20 would be a smaller class, and then 21 would be smaller. So that'll be a good problem to have. But I think so much is going to change. I'm saying that now, and it could be big again if someone transferred. I think that's what you just have to always prepare for.
Is there any local talent that could, like 2 years from now, could possibly be on the radar?
Yeah, there definitely is. There's some really good players, some young players here, but a few classes away. But us and everybody else is recruiting. But there isn't like it's not a hotbed to recruit here. So if you look at Las Vegas, you look at Northern California, Southern Cal, you'll have 10, 15 players in a city. We'll have 1 or 2 sprinkled here and there. So my goal is to try to get a couple of those players, and it's in the state too. So it's a couple local, and then there's some, like not within a 2 or 3 mile or 2 or 3 hour driving distance, but there are some good young talent. So I think that Arizona State, I think we need to try to keep good players home, and I think that's hard to do because I think a lot of Arizona kids don't stay home. But that's our, I'm sure Charlie and myself are working hard to keep these good players here. But I think one of the reasons why the Pac-12 has improved so much is a lot of the good players never stayed in the Pac-12 before, and now they're starting to stay in the Pac-12. That's why I think we're the best conference, and we're going to continue to get better because, Stanford got a couple of players that normally would have gone to Notre Dame or UConn or Duke, and now they're staying here. So I think it's making our league more competitive.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For Ari and Sam. Ari, I guess you first. What does it mean to you to be selected to this WNIT tournament?
It means a lot, especially for this program. We haven't been in the postseason in years, so it means a lot, and it just definitely tells you where this team is headed for the years to come.
What would it feel like waiting? I know Coach Barnes said she was just...
It was kind of irritating. It was like anxious at the same time. We just got done practicing. We were waiting, and they just kept pushing it back. He's like, when are we going to get called? But we did, and we're happy.
Do you guys pay attention to fans that come to the game, the amount of fans that come? And with that in mind, how many do you feel like you guys should have Thursday?
We're hoping to get a big turnout because, it's the first time in 8 years, I think they said, since we've been to postseason play. So we're really just trying to get the fan base back out again. So they thought our last game was going to be the last time they saw us for this year, but we're excited that we can come back again.
What do you remember about that game against Idaho State to begin the season?
That was
It was
a long
rough.
time ago.
It was definitely rough. We're a totally different team than we were months ago when we played them, and TT watched the first half and she told me, she was like, Ari, that was crazy. We look like clowns and all that. But yeah, I'm just excited to play them again, and it'd definitely be a different story.
Were you surprised that you drew them?
Yeah, I honestly were. I was really surprised.
Yeah, especially since we played them before. I looked at their roster just to see who they were, and I was like, wait, I remember these people. I was like, we played them before.
If someone didn't know any better, they might look at your schedule and say, boy, this team's lost 5 of its last 6 games. They must not be playing very good basketball. But is that really true?
That's not true at all. People just look back at our games and they be like, oh, this team really competed. They gave people a run for their money. So they can think that they want. It'll be a different story when we come out.
What did it feel like playing in Vegas and that big win against SC, and then you were able to hang with Oregon? And it was almost like you made a statement, we belong now.
It felt good for the Pac-12 to have the tournament in Vegas. It was fun. And we came out the first game with a lot of intensity. We played really hard, and we just knew USC gave up within the first half. So we just kept our foot on their necks. And then for us to be hanging with Oregon for 3 quarters, it was good, and I feel like we definitely impressed a lot of people.
What was the moment this season or after a game where you knew you would be coming to postseason? I know you guys believed all season that you could do it. You believed you could win. You believed you would be eligible for postseason play, and you thought you really could do it. But was there a moment? Was it the ASU win? Was it the Cal win? Was it even a loss against one of these top 10 teams, and you're like, we got this?
For me, honestly, it was most likely the UCLA game. It was tough coming home from the loss and just knowing that we were right there with them. So not necessarily saying like, oh, we lost, we're going to make it to postseason play, but we have the ability and talent to give teams a run for their money and really try and go for the postseason play.
I would definitely say after we lost ASU at ASU, Coach Barnes just talked to us after the game. She was like, I didn't want to tell you guys or put pressure on you, but you really have a chance to make postseason, whether it's NCAA or NIT. So I kind of knew then.
Gary, you and Kelsey Plum were recruited by Adia. What is it about her as a recruiter, as a person, that would make somebody want to play for her?
I would say just she's easy to get along with. She's approachable, and definitely besides basketball, you can trust her, and you can tell her things happening off the court. So that's what really drew me in.
And last year you guys both had a little different journey to this year. You both were on the team. You went through some tough times. You sat out all season, which was really hard. What do you think that you learned from last season that's helped you?
I learned just by sitting on the bench, just watching, when adversity hits, you just got to push through. You just got to keep going. You got to get over the hump, honestly, and then just perfect your craft, honestly, and just be coachable and just be a good teammate.
Yeah, definitely playing last year. I mean, obviously I grew as a player because I was a freshman, but also just to keep pushing every game, focus on one game at a time. Wins and losses don't really matter at that point unless you're getting better and feel like you played your hardest.
For both of you, starting with Sam, though, if at the end of last year someone were to tell you in one season from now you'll have tripled your win total and broken a postseason entrance of 8 years, what would you have said?
I mean, honestly, I would believe them. I saw the 3 transfers that we had coming in, the freshmen that we're getting. I knew we had some talent coming in, so honestly, it was just up to us to see how far we would make it.
At the same time, knowing how close you were to making the NCAA tournament, does that serve as motivation going into these last few games and also the off season?
Oh, definitely. That's gonna be big for us. Just knowing we were that close, we're gonna be hungry over the summer just to get better, and just knowing that'll be a goal for next year.
And what do you think that you guys have to? I know in the next couple of days, and you've been working on your own game, and then you're going to learn a little bit really quickly about what Idaho State does now, as opposed to before. But what do you think that you guys have to do to win this game and to keep playing?
Definitely just to execute and rebound. We were struggling rebounding lately, so definitely just box out and definitely to minimize our turnovers. Just take care of the ball and knock down free throws.
You were saying you were a much different team when you played them the first time. In what ways have you changed the most?
Definitely our defensive play. We've been playing better defense, and just everyone's contributing. That's pretty much we're a different team, and yeah.
What do you think when the tournament field was announced yesterday? Was there a party that was we should have been in there at all?
Yeah, it was a little disappointing at first, especially when the brackets got released, but we're just happy to play at NIT as well and just to take this program to where places they've never been, or they haven't been here in years, so we're just happy to be here and just be able to compete and just keep playing.
Anything else?
Thank you.